Hello, everyone. It's Lynsey Landry, and I want to welcome you to this Make a Splash conversation. Today, I am going to be speaking straight from my heart to yours, and we're going to be talking all about the eclipse of the heart. And I'm going to be sharing my journey to my heart and my journey of unleashing my magic and really remembering what I'm here to do and claiming that with every part of my being and bringing it into my business. So I'm going to be sharing that with you. And I'm pretty sure I've never shared this whole story before. So I'm excited. I'm excited to be able to finally share it in one congrusive place with you. Before we dive into that, I want to share a little bit about the getting here. Getting to this place of even desiring to share the story with you because it feels important and it's part of the attunement that I'm really desiring to share with you, share with my community, and also it's this place that I'm desiring to bring my community towards. And so before we dive into my story, I'm going to be sharing a little bit about that. And so if you have been with us for these Make a Splash conversations, last year was the first year that I had the Make a Splash interviews. And last year I talked with some of my past clients, some of my dear friends, and we really geared the conversations more towards your business and what you needed to do to attract more clients and cash in your business. And so we talked a little bit about manifesting and energy, but we also talked a lot about strategy and how to tap into your creativity and to get that energy flowing. If you haven't seen those, you can go to my YouTube channel and you can access those. So they are there for you to be able to access. This year, I really was feeling this deep call to bring these conversations to a different place. This past year, I've been in a energy program for myself. It's been a mystery school, so it hasn't been about direct teaching. So rather than the old way of logical marketing, right? Or do these steps and they're going to bring you to XYZ place, which last year, the way that we recorded these conversations, it was a bit more of the masculine energy, right? And a little bit of the feminine. This year, I was really feeling this deep call to bring forward energetic conversations. And so I invited some of my soul sisters and some of the energy experts who I've met along my path who have inspired me in some capacity. I asked them if they would be willing to have conversations with me. And so we zeroed in on a conversation topic. And then basically what we did with zero agenda, we haven't had a direction for the conversations. We really dropped in and we allowed the energy to guide us. And what came about from these conversations really has been amazing. I recorded them, I guess it's been about a month or so now. And each time I had one of these conversations with these women, it changed something in me. I could feel my energy shifting. I could feel my awareness of myself growing. And I could feel my passion for my work rising. And I'm sharing this with you because this is what I desire for this community. I desire sisterhood. I desire this place of transparency, authentic sharing. And when we come from that place of sharing from our heart, sharing from this deeper place of our soul, right? So not the logical mind, but this deeper place of our beingness. And what I mean by beingness, it's who you are It's just you being. So it's not you trying to do something. It's not you trying to sell something, but it's sharing experiences, sharing life, And when you show up from that place, you make impacts. Your energy will set this tone, and then it gives other people the opportunity to align more to themselves. And so as I was having these conversations with these women, my heart was literally coming alive, and I could feel myself coming more and more online. And then what happened is when it was time to put the first conversation out, I started to notice, and ironically, the first conversation that we put out, which is truly, truly divine, it was unlocking your shutdowns. And what ended up happening is when I went to put that conversation out, I started to notice the places that I was shut down. So, and this is how energy works. And this is my intention for these conversations for you. So as each topic is, each week when I share a topic, I desire it to be an activation for you. I desire it to be not just this logical thing that you listen to, but I desire it to be an experience. And then for you to have your own experience of that energy in your own life and business. And so this is what was happening for me. And so I started to notice the places that I was shut down. And some of the things that I was noticing were not knowing if people were going to be ready for these conversations. So that was one place that I started to notice that I was shut down. Another one was almost this place of feeling like I was behind the scenes and I'm featuring these women who are fucking amazing. And I was like, yeah, but what about me? So that was another place that I noticed. Another thing that I noticed was once that started to come up, I started to feel myself grasping about the participation. So then when people weren't, responding to the post or saying that they listened, I noticed some anxiety coming around that. And so the way that I work in my business, and this is how I work with every single one of my clients, and throughout these energy conversations, you're going to hear us talking about this. So when we notice things showing up outside of us that are maybe feeling crunchy or are triggering our inner process, that's always an invitation for you to go inward. And so how this might show up in your business is you put out something you're really excited about, and then you're noticing like you're not getting the engagement. And then so this story comes forward, right? Or maybe you do a bunch of free calls and no one ends up signing up to buy from you. They're all saying it's too expensive. So these are different stories we could have, and these are different scenarios, right, of what our outside world can start to look at. Or another one I'll just share, because this has been true for me, is, well, if I grow and expand my business, it's going to be a lot of work, right? And not just work in my business, but then I also have to be responsible in my relationship and in the house. And that's a whole lot of responsibility, and that's exhausting. And so we can have all these stories, and they can limit us from reaching and expanding to where we really desire, or we can use them as an opportunity and an invitation to look at ourselves, to grow ourselves, to see and to get really curious about, okay, so if this is coming forward, what in me needs to be freed? Where else can I free myself? Where else can I bring more of who I really am online? And so, the first conversation was the unlocking your shutdowns. And so I started to notice these patterns, right? And so I leaned into my shutdown places and I started to explore, how can I loosen this, right? And then the second conversation that we brought forward was about transformational healing for sexuality and relationships. And this was a really edgy conversation for me. And if you listen to it, you may even notice I was a little bit hesitant with my words and I was stumbling. And even when I was recording this, I went back and I was making the notes to send the podcast out, right? To send the episode out. And I noticed these places and I was like, oh my goodness, right? I feel super clumsy. I feel super vulnerable in this conversation. And I put it out anyway. And so this was our second conversation. And I'm also energetically releasing these conversations based on where it feels the energy needs to go. And it felt like after the unlocking your shutdowns, we really needed this opening. And I was desiring more open conversations, right? And so part of me was like, well, maybe if I do this one, it's going to change the energy. And what I noticed is after releasing this conversation, it opened my energy. Also, my behind the scenes story around this, I'm also working with my own energy coach or energy healer. And we've been doing a lot of sacral chakra work. So this is an area, as I mentioned in my conversation with Natalie, I've been working since probably January, February-ish, but really this has been the area that has brought me to this work. I started my journey with polycystic ovaries when I was 13 years old, and it's been an edge that I continue to work, and it continues to grow me. It continues to grow me into myself and into my passion, into my purpose, and into what I'm here to do and share and be. So I'm working this edge with my mentor healer, and we get to this place of responsibility. So I shared with you, a bit of my story around responsibility is like, well, if I bring more people into my community and I take more clients, and it's going to mean more responsibility. So more responsibility in a way of, yes, I'm holding, I'm growing my business up, but also it felt like the old way felt like I'm also holding all of these people, and that feels like a lot of responsibility. And we started to really look at this responsibility piece, and it was keeping me in this energetic loop. It was keeping me in this loop of, because I was afraid of being responsible, this old masculine part of me, this wounded masculine, because it was afraid to be responsible and it was trying so hard to be responsible, what was also happening is I was giving my power away. And so after this session, I started having all of these ahas and unfoldings. And what I realized, I was laying at the pool and I was trying to get into my feminine, right? And like explore my feelings and get curious about what is this? And I had this aha of the way that I was using this Make a Splash series. My original intention for it was to attune my community, to attune the people in my space to this new energetic that I have stepped into. Because the past 2 years I've been in energy programs. The first year was specifically energetic trainings of learning how to work with energy on a new level and then bring my clients through that experience. The second year of the program that I've been in has been a self-mastery school. It's been a mystery school. So learning directly through experience, through your own healing experience. And I've truly, from reclaiming these parts of myself and through going through both of these courses, I feel like a different person. And my energy and the place that I desire to work with my clients, the energetic level, we can talk about chakras, but the work that I've been doing with my clients is even deeper. It's beyond chakras. It's beyond past lives. It is really multidimensional. It's reclaiming these deep pieces of your heart and soul. And there's no words to describe this energetic. And so my intention for these conversations was to let you experience it. I've learned so much through my own experience this past 2 years. And I wanted to use these conversations with my soul sisters to give you experiences so that you could feel the energy for yourself. You could experience it for yourself. You could have activations for yourself. And hopefully it could attune you to this new level of conversation, right? And even my Facebook community, this new level of interacting. And so what I realized that day laying at the pool was that, yes, this was my intention. And there was a part of me, this part that wasn't really fully wanting to be responsible. There's a part of me that was wanting the conversations with my soul sisters to attune the space. And after I cleared this responsibility, what I realized is I am the one who has to attune you to my energy. There's no one else that can do it for me. And just thinking about it in this moment, this has been an ongoing thread, in my business. I remember even when I opened my private practice in 2012 as a dietitian, I really just wanted someone else to do marketing for me. I didn't want to have to do it myself. I wanted someone else to refer me clients. I wanted someone else to tell people what I do. And that's great, right? But if we are not claiming our space, if we are not attuning people to us, then what's going to happen is you're going to attract people that aren't in attunement with where you're wanting to go. So what that looks like is you attract clients who aren't really in alignment with the level you're really wanting to work with them on. So it becomes crunchy and it keeps you on the edge of yourself. It keeps you outside of yourself. And so when I had this realization, I knew that I wanted to do an energy conversation specifically to attune you to these conversations, these energy conversations that are in this series, but also to attune you to me, to my new energetic, to this place. And also why sisterhood is so, so, so important, right? If it wasn't for these women who said yes to having these conversations with me, these powerful women, if it wasn't for me releasing these first two conversations, I wouldn't have seen these pieces and places within myself. And this is the power of community. This is where I desire this community to go. When we are vulnerable enough to show up and say, this is what I'm experiencing. This is what I'm noticing. So say you listen to a conversation and it activates something in you, and then you have a judgment come up, right? So say it was the transformational healing for sexuality and relationships. Maybe you notice some places within yourself that you're not feeling comfortable. Or maybe whenever we talked about the seductress, right? Maybe you're noticing your own seductress. So when you open your heart enough to say, and to show up in this space, right, in the Soul Inspired Success community and say, wow, this is what I noticed about myself from this conversation. What happens is not only does that heal you, but it gives other people the opportunity to heal. Because of your beingness, not because you are trying to sell something, not because you are trying to say, these 3 steps are going to get you to XYZ. Just your beingness, just like an oak tree, right? When you go sit by an oak tree, it does something to you just by being. Yesterday, I was sitting outside and there was butterflies and they were swirling around me, right? Just by its presence, I could feel my heart opening. I could feel my heart softening. And when you are present with yourself, when you share that presence, it makes a ripple. And that is what I desire. That is what I desire for the Soul Inspired Success community. I desire it to be this holy place, because the truth is this work is holy with a capital H. I desire it to be a sacred place where you can show up in this community and just being in the group, you feel your energy changing. it's like a vortex, right? And so with that being said, last week I made some changes to the community. There's no more promotions. I will have designated days where I might post something and invite you to share. But outside of that, there's no promotions. There's no links. There's no how to post. So I do not want people posting, if you want to grow your list, this is how you do it. I do not want people posting, if you want to trust your intuition, this is how you do it. This place is about showing up in your experience. So it's about sharing. I listen to these conversations and this is what it's moving in me. It's about sharing. This is what I'm working in my business, and this is what I'm noticing as I work it. When you show up in that capacity, it's going to heal you. It's going to allow you to magnetize, to attract the clients that you really want to attract. And it's going to allow you to heal others, all in just being. It's this new way of marketing. It's this new way of self-expression, this new way of beingness. And so that is where we're going. And to attune this conversation, I want to share with you my journey, my eclipse of my heart, my journey to my heart, my journey to this place of remembering what is, remembering what's true, remembering what's possible. And so to start this off, I don't want to talk a lot about how I've gotten, all the way to healing, but what I just want to say is when I was 13, I started struggling with polycystic ovaries, and that really was this catalyst for me to start exploring holistic healing and then energy healing and all of these different healing modalities. And I want to link this back to the conversation that I had with Natalie, right, about the yoni. What she said is, this is the place of giving life. It's the place of creation. And I'll share more of this throughout my story, but what I realized just the past couple of days, as I'm still working this piece around healing my womb space and healing some sexuality pieces, is for most of my life, I rejected my femininity. I rejected my heart. I closed off from my true nature of who I am. I might cry as I'm saying this. And of course, my ovaries and my womb and my yoni brought me back. They were the spark for my journey, right? Saying, hey, you're rejecting your feminine nature. You're rejecting your heart. And if you look up any of those sexual organs in Louise Hay, which I did Saturday as I was I was having really intense period cramps, and I was going into them, and it was like this flashback, of this whole story of healing my womb. And as I really felt into them, I looked up the meaning of these places, and I was like, holy hell, right? Holy hell. I know I've looked at this in the past, but it was like I saw it with new eyes, rejecting your femininity. And I could feel my heart softening for myself. I could feel all of it. And so yes, this journey started with my womb. It started with my yoni. And here we are, however many years later, 20 plus years later, it's still guiding me. And so what I just want to say here too is this is a continual process. It's a continual process of coming home to your truth, coming home to your heart, coming home to who you are, and continuing to step into who you are. And throughout your journey, you will become different versions of yourself. There's no destination. And so my journey started with that. And, you know, it led me to become a registered dietitian, to become a holistic health practitioner, and then an energy healer, and then this place of deepening even more and more into the energetic of really bringing myself into my work, and then really developing this passion of helping other people to bring their true and full self into their work. And so now, those are the levels that I rejoice in working with my clients on. And so 2 years ago, when I was at this place of wanting to grow my business, I was doing it in the masculine ways. So I was doing it in this way of following marketing structures and, trying to put myself into how other people do it. And in doing that, it felt really refining. It felt constricting. There was parts of me that were fighting. I really didn't want to do it. And at the same time, I really felt like that was the way, right? And so I did it. And what I would notice is that I was pushing, and even on the weekends, I was thinking about clients, and I was thinking about the next thing that I needed to do, and I wasn't being present. I wasn't being present in my relationship. I wasn't able to be fully present with myself in the way that I desire to with my free time, even when I was on walks, or even when I was working out. I was still thinking about my business and my clients, and this isn't the way that I enjoy being, and I just want to rewind a bit. And when I originally started my business, I had no intention of having a business. I remember even in high school, one of my friends, she was talking about being an entrepreneur and that she wanted to be an entrepreneur. And I was like, I don't know what that word is. And I really don't think I desire to have my own business. That is not appealing to me, right? Because I really just wanted someone else to support me. I just wanted to have a structure that I could be supported, right? And so the way that my business naturally came about was I was healing myself, and people started asking me, "What are you doing? How can I have an appointment with you?" And I didn't even want to charge at first, right? And then I started to naturally charge. And so it was really, the beginning of my business really was from this place of pure heart. It was from being and sharing my experience, right? And people were gravitating towards me. So when I got into the world of marketing, years later, what actually happened is this wounded masculine part of me started to come online, feeling like I was doing things wrong and that I needed to do them different. And I needed to learn the secret sauce, right? I needed to learn the structure, the strategy. What is everyone else doing? How do I need to do it? And so when we come forward with that energy of looking outside of ourselves, wanting an outside structure, wanting someone else to tell us the rules so that we can fit into the rules, that is the wounded masculine. And this is healing that's really, really forward right now, specifically with the eclipse that's happening tomorrow, specifically with, Mercury in retrograde right now, specifically with Mars in retrograde. And so I'm just naming that because you may be noticing some of these patterns for you. And so I noticed, this part of me that's pushing and striving and comparing myself and not feeling like I really fit in with the other coaches, and seeing how people do it and feeling really disconnected from that, but also then feeling like I need to be that, right? And so I had that going on. And then this deeper place within me was this deep sorrow and this deep longing, this deep knowing that there was so much more. And every time that I've come to this point of healing in my life, so from being 13, going to doctors, trying to figure out what's happening, I was going to the masculine, right? I'm going to the structure, to the masculine patriarchy, the doctors who are going to tell me what's wrong. And yet there was this deep longing inside and this deep knowing that that's not the thing for me. And so in my business, I've always noticed these two contrasting parts too. So 2 years ago, I noticed this, and this deep longing. I remember sitting in my office chair one day, and it was like this deep despair. And I was like, I need something. I don't know what it is, but it feels like something, and I need to connect back, right? And that day I listened to this podcast with the woman who I ended up being in her programs for 2 years. And I felt my heart come back online. I sat in my chair and I cried and I cried and I cried, remembering the truth and desiring that for myself, desiring to be more in the truth. And at the time, I didn't realize that that was my feminine, right? That was my wild feminine, the nature of who I really am, this being that is a deep feeler, a deep expressor. Sorry, my microphone fell. This deep feeler, this deep expressor, this Scorpio. I'm a Scorpio with a Pisces moon, and I have Scorpio 4 times in my chart. I play in the deep waters. I feel in the deep waters. I heal on the deepest of deep levels. I've been afraid of this. And even at that point, of me being in that deep despair, that was the thing I was in the deepest despair over, right? I just wanted to be seen on that deep level. I wanted to be confident in the truth of my gifts, in what I knew deep in my belly, in my womb, right? In my heart. I wanted to feel confident expressing that part of myself and feeling like I could show up in the online space. Here we are today. And I wanted to be confident and not share and feel like, oh my God, nobody's going to get it, or everybody's going to leave me, because that was my wounded feminine at that time. It was this place of feeling so frozen, feeling so blocked off, because I felt like if I show these parts of myself, if I feel this deeply, everyone's going to leave me. I'm going to end up alone, and my business is going to fail. This is like the stupidest thing that I could possibly do. And so I was really in this place of segmentation. I had this masculine energy happening where I was wanting to just do things right. I wanted to follow the rules. I wanted to be what I needed to be. And then I had this wild, deep feminine part of me that was aching and feeling and being afraid to feel, and had so much fear around who she was and what she was feeling and what she wanted to do. And so I said yes. I said yes to this energy school. I said yes to working with this teacher, having no idea where this was going, but I knew, I could feel it, that this was the thing for me. And it was, throughout the first program of learning these new energy tools, it was like, hell yes, this is the level I want to work with, this deeper level, going deeper into the subconscious, bringing people into this deep experience of themselves. Even when I started my business, there was 2 core phrases that really I felt guided my business. And the first one was, the day came. I don't know. I should have wrote these down, but it was, the day came whenever the being a tight bud basically was more painful than taking the risk to blossom, right? So I'm sure you've heard that before. So that was one of my driving forces. And the other one was, when you know and love yourself, you have everything you need to succeed. And so these are my 2. driving forces, my two mottos, my two anthems, would you say, that have guided my business from the very beginning. And I really desire to bring my clients to that place of deep, deep self-knowing, and at the time I thought it was, knowing themselves to bring it more into their business. And that is the truth. But what I'm realizing is when we know ourselves on this deepest of deep levels, everything else falls into place, And so that was what I learned this past year, right? In this mystery school. And, in the beginning of the mystery school, I wanted structure. I wanted someone to tell me what to do. And I had to allow that part of me to die. I had to allow that ego part, the wounded masculine part of me to die. And I was so afraid to go deep into my feelings, And what ended up happening is I attracted experiences that brought me deeper and deeper into my feelings, into the pain, into the sorrow. And through that, my heart really opened. And all of this started with the eclipse. It was, I want to say it was August 23rd or 22nd, 2017, but it was the solar eclipse, the full solar eclipse that happened. And that day, my grandpa had open heart surgery. And after that day, I was sick for 2 weeks, and that began my heart journey. And one of the main experiences that happened, because the first part of that journey, I was really fighting. I was fighting with this fear of being so afraid. Because even in being sick for 2 weeks, and it might have even been longer than that, I was so afraid to let myself be sick, to allow myself to feel, because I felt like too much. I felt like too much for my boyfriend. I felt like I couldn't fully surrender. I felt like if I'm not able to show up and, give to my community, what's going to happen? And so all these fears were coming forward. And, I had to be with them. I had to feel them. Throughout these Make a Splash conversations, we're talking about this. We're talking about how being with is actually the way to free yourself. It's actually the way to move the energy. And when we talk about true divine feminine energy, it's being with, it's holding space. If you think about Mother Mary, when Jesus, I was raised Catholic, so this is a very I guess traditional story of the Passion of Christ. When he was walking and holding the cross, she didn't try to change that. She didn't try to convince him not to do it. She walked alongside of him. She loved him. She felt her feelings around it. She mourned. Her heart broke. She held space. She loved him. This is what wild feminine, this is what true feminine energy is. And to heal these wounded places within ourselves, to heal our wounded feminine, to heal our wounded masculine, we have to open our hearts to loving all of us, to loving all of these places. And so that was what I was having to do. I was having to be with these places within myself and lean more and more into my heart. And what ended up happening in that journey, at the same time, I was really frustrated. I was really frustrated with even the teacher that I was in this program with, because I really wanted someone to tell me what to do. I really wanted to have an outside structure, and when we're in business, that's the thing, right? We really just want someone to tell us what to do, tell me how to run my business. And that can work for a little while until we meet these places of deep longing, of deep despair, of feeling like no matter how successful I am, my relationship isn't working. So at the end of the day, I still don't feel loved. I still don't feel seen and supported. And the only way to heal that is by turning towards these places in you and healing these places within you. Because if you don't see yourself, if you can't be with these places in yourself, how can anyone else be with them? It's impossible, you know? And so what ended up happening, I remember the day very clearly. I think it was November 11th or maybe November 13th. It was a Monday, and I was bringing my cats to get fixed. And these kittens actually showed up in August of September 2016, August 2016. It was the August that I was in magic school, and these two kittens showed up. And one of them, his name was Leo. We named him Leo. And of course, the eclipse the year later was in Leo. And so, so November 13th, 2017, I'm bringing these cats to the vet to get fixed. And long story short, I was really feeling frustrated. I was feeling that day like everything was on my back. Like I was the one having to be responsible. Like I was the one having to do all the things. So I was a bit resentful about having to bring the cats. I was tired. And one of the cats had diarrhea in the pet carrier. And so when I was going to clean the pet carrier, one of the cats ended up escaping at the vet. And this is 30 miles away from my house. And it was this surreal moment. And it was, I think that day I was like in shock, almost like I can't even believe this. And I was frustrated and I wanted to blame other people. And at the same time, it really felt like it was all happening for a reason. And I remember as I was looking in the coulee that day, trying to see like, okay, where is Leo? Is he here? There was this hawk that kept flying over me. And so I knew in my heart, I knew in this deep place in myself that it was all happening for a reason, but yet there's this other part of me that's so scared, right? And so open, and I felt so scattered and like I couldn't pull my shit together. And I remember this man, he was in his dress clothes, he was going to work. And, he was dressed pretty nice, and he actually jumped in the ditch with me and he was helping me. And all I could think was these complete strangers who I don't even know, they are this willing to help me, and we didn't find Leo. And what ended up happening from that was it really created this eruption in my relationship. And so, James was angry at me, and I was feeling emotional. He was feeling emotional for months. It really created this pull away. And what happened in that, we talked about separating. We thought our relationship was over. We basically lived together, but weren't talking much. And what would happen is we both had to go within ourselves. We both had to go within ourselves. And so, because it was this pull away, then I couldn't look to him to see like, who does he need me to be? That was my old pattern of seeing the masculine structure and then shifting to it, okay, that's the structure. That's what it needs of me. That's what it expects of me. And then I'll just be that thing for it, and in doing that, I was sacrificing myself. I was leaving my own heart. I was leaving my own being. I was leaving my own desires. And what I just want to say about this is when we do this, sorry, I got a tickle in my throat. Let me take a sip of water. when when we do this, right? So when we're operating from this place, usually it's because our desires are frozen, or even the truth of who we are is locked up, or it's frozen, or it's hidden within our own system. So it's really challenging. It's really challenging to access it or know it, right? And it really can feel like, well, I want to do this thing for him. And it feels like that until you notice that you're exhausted, or until you notice that there's this other part of you that is longing for something different, you know? And so what happened for me in this time is, we're not talking. And so I really had to start to plug back in. I started to have to feel some of that pain, right? The pain of I'm feeling emotional and there's no one there to support me, right? Or my emotions are too much, too big. I'm healing my heart. And of course, my story's happening. People are leaving me. I'm ending up alone. That was my story. So of course it's playing out. And also in that time, I had clients leave. I had clients leave their packages, and it felt like this is the stupidest thing ever. This is the stupidest thing. Going deeper into my heart, I knew this wasn't safe. I knew this wasn't the thing to do. And that's what our mind does, right? Our mind creates these stories when our being, our heart, our soul, the deepest parts of our heart and soul know the truth that when you are fully aligned to yourself, you set yourself free. You set yourself free, and you also start to set those around you free. And so there was a part of me that knew this, right? And also in that time, I was thinking, like, should I leave this program? This might be so stupid for me even to be in this program that I'm in. My whole life is falling apart. This seems pretty dumb, you know? I feel less inspired in my business. My clients are leaving. My boyfriend wants to leave me. Like, this is really stupid. Everything's dissolving. And at the same time, there was a part of me that knew that I said yes to this program because I was ready for some big transformation. I said yes to this program because I was tired of playing small and I was ready to play bigger, even though I was scared as hell, And so I stuck with it. And fast forward to January 13th, I remember I was feeling, I was feeling still disconnected and swirly and overwhelmed, and like I couldn't find myself, So even when I would go to write emails or to post in my group, like, there was things that I could say, but it didn't feel like this. It didn't feel like I was super connected to myself. I felt scattered and just not how I desired to, not super grounded. And I remember just getting to this place of being so frustrated and wanting to be back in myself. And I remember sitting down that morning and I asked Spirit, what do I need to do to feel like myself again? And I was tired. I was tired of being in this loop of not feeling like me, right? And that day, I sat down and I meditated and I decided to take my power back. So I started to look at, okay, when did I stop feeling like myself? And where have I given my power away? And I mapped out all the places that I gave my power away. And I started to take my power back. So energetically calling my power back. And as I did that, I could feel my heart coming more and more and more and more online. And I asked myself, what is it that I need today? And what came forward was to go to Lake Martin, which it's about 45 minutes from where I live now, but I used to live about 10 minutes away. And so I decided that I was going to go, and I called up a friend. I asked her if she would want to meet and have coffee, and she said yes. And so I was on my way to Lake Martin, and on the way, I got a text message, and it was from the lady at the Spay Nation. at the spay and neuter place. And she said, I think we found your cat. Is this your cat? And it was him. And so this was 2 months later after he escaped. And I started crying in the car and shaking and all the things, right? And that was the day that my heart came home. And that was the day that Leo came home. And it felt really significant, right? Because his name is Leo, and I found him August 2016, and then August 2017, we have the solar eclipse in Leo, which is all about healing the heart. And then here I am, January 13th, 2018, and my heart came home. And that was such a significant day for me. And having him home, I've always learned from animals, and animal medicine is one of my gifts. I tend to call in animals to teach me, and it's part of this longing for connection, right? I have this deep longing inside of me for connection. So even as a young girl, I would call in animals to have connections. And this is one thing that I've learned about myself this past year. And so animals were my connection, and even my cat. When I was, I think 2 or 3, I got my first cat, and I can remember even the days that I felt lonely or sad, I would sit outside with her and hold her and love her, and I felt connected. I would talk to her and share my emotions with her. And of course, the cat, the pussy, right? And so here we are, my Leo comes home, and that was whenever that time, so January, February is when I started to go deeper into this sacral chakra healing. My sacral chakra, I started to feel sick around my period again. I started to have a lot of inflammation again. And I started to work this layer again. It felt like as I was connecting to my heart, I needed to connect also to my body, and so because this old story of my heart and this feminine, a little bit of my story about my heart is I disconnected from it because it felt scary. It felt like my heart is so big, it's so open. I love so deeply and I feel so deeply that in the past, I would get myself into really crunchy and bad situations, right? Because I would trust people, and I would see the best in them. I would see the fullest potential in them. And so I would open my heart to them, and I didn't have boundaries. And it would end up, I would get hurt. And what I've been learning as I've been reworking this piece around my sacral chakra and my root chakra is grounding more in my own needs, right? In my yoni, in my womb, in my pussy, and of course these cats had to guide me to this. And so in cats, if we just look at cat medicine, they are so sovereign in themselves. They tell you, how they like to be touched, how they don't like to be touched. They are, they love containers, but they will welcome you. My cat Sage, she will lay on the floor and give you her belly, and she'll let you rub her. And then when she's had enough, she tells you she's had enough. She swats you or bites you. And so this is the same thing that I'm learning, with my body and with my, this deeper energetic in me. The more I lean fully into myself, into reclaiming this feminine wild heart of mine, and not just reclaiming it from a separated place, because what's happened is my sacral chakra, this wounded masculine part of me that didn't want to be responsible, right, was so angry with my heart, because then it puts me in this place of having to be responsible and having to work harder, because it's like your heart is open, and then um, cleaning up the mess of the heart, or welcoming people that then I'm like being responsible for. And so as I've been healing the sacral chakra piece, these two parts have been coming more and more together and more online. And what I'm noticing is that's whenever you truly can show up from a fully present place, present with yourself and your needs, and also present with others, and this is what unleashing your magic is really about. It's about being able to claim the truth of who you are and not lose the truth of who you are in your work. And I want to just take a breath into that, because that feels so, so, so important, right? We have these gifts that a lot of times, I'm teaching energy school right now, and this week we talked about boundaries. And what happens is we form our intuition and we form our gifts out of our wounding. So as a child, we start developing our intuitive nature. We start developing our capacity to love, our capacity to feel, our capacity to maybe even strategize. If you're more of a strategist, you start to develop that, your ability to see and to know. You start to develop this as a child as a protection mechanism. And when we are learning to be sovereign in ourselves, it's really about reclaiming these gifts from a full place, right? So letting go of the woundedness of them, of I need to do this thing to protect myself. So I need to love to make sure that nobody leaves me. I need to open my heart to make sure that I have connection and I'm not alone. I need to, let's say, protect my heart and keep people away, or to protect myself from others so that I don't get hurt. I need to see and know all of the things so that I'm always one step ahead, and that so that people like me and so that I can be what they need me to be. These are the stories. And when we are operating in our business from these stories, we're taking away our ability to meet ourselves. We're operating from our woundedness. And when we free ourselves, we open these shut down places in ourself. What then happens is you get to have more choicefulness of your gifts. So rather than me opening my heart and giving my heart, right? Giving my heart away, or losing myself, or losing my heart in others, losing my power, right? Giving my power away, which that was what happened for me, right? I'm in this masculine structure, this program, and I gave my power away. So then also my heart is outside of me. And then I can't be myself, right? So this is what happens. And then we wonder why we're not getting the results that we want in our business. We're wondering why it's so hard, or maybe it's not even that hard for you anymore. Maybe you have clients and you're at the place where things are pretty steady, and yet you feel this like discontentness, right? It feels like boring, or it feels like you're craving more. If you're craving more, it's not necessarily because of the outside structures. It's because there's something more in you that's wanting to be discovered. There's a place deeper in you that's wanting to be seen and opened. And when you open to that place within yourself, your work naturally deepens. I am doing some of the deepest work that I've ever done with clients. and it feels fucking amazing, and my clients are getting amazing results. And yes, I'm such a yes to it. I love my work more than ever. My relationship has come to this totally new place where, as I've, I had to, like I mentioned, me and James really had to collect ourselves and go into our own space. So I had to stop tending to his energy and he had to stop tending to mine, because what happens is we were both constantly tracking each other, and then we're both feeling into, well, how does he need me to show up? How does she need me to show up? Who do I need to be to make her comfortable or safe? Or the wounded masculine, what happens is he was going into, well, there's nothing I can do to help her. And so then he felt bad about himself, right? And so we really needed to be in our own energy so that we could heal these places within ourselves. And then what actually happened is, the more I was healing these places within myself and stepping more into myself, it's allowed him to step more and more into his self. And now we're able to come back together from this place of being in ourselves, and our relationship is deeper than ever. The conversations that we're able to have are deeper than ever. The choices that we're making together about our future, about my business, about all these different things, we've never been able to do that before, and it took me healing these places within me, so this work is not about, I'm going to heal these things so that I can get more results in my business. Like, yes, that will happen, and you're going to get more results in every aspect of your life. That is what soul inspired success is. And that's what happens when you unleash your magic. You truly become the creatrix of your whole entire life. And when we heal these feminine places within ourselves, when we learn how to be with, to feel, to allow this to move through us, then what happens as your true gifts, your true nature begins to come more and more online, then you get to put structures in place in your business that actually support that. So rather than these false structures of doing things because other people are doing it, or because of, it sounds good, or whatever the thing is, you get to create the strategies, you get to create the structures, the programs, the way of showing up that actually supports your essence, and it allows your essence, it allows your wild feminine energy to truly shine. And some magical shit starts to happen. It feels good. It feels good to show up. It doesn't feel like a trap. It doesn't feel like a chore. It feels easy. It feels liberating, and that's what I desire for you. That's what I desire for this community, to move toward this place of freeing yourself so that you can be more free in every place in your life. And so I want to close this conversation with somewhat of a prayer, but it's a reading that I saw yesterday. So yesterday morning, I was going to record this. And I saw this. I've been feeling into, what is this conversation supposed to be? What am I supposed to share? And I was going to record it yesterday. And it didn't feel right. So I didn't. But yesterday morning, I saw this post and I want to share it because it feels like the best. It moves something so deep in me, and it really inspired me to share this story with you today. And I want to share it with you. So, this, I'm not completely sure what it's from, but it's by Jenny Perry. The person who posted it, I asked her if it's from a book. She hasn't responded yet. So if any of you know what this is from, feel free to message me and let me know, and then I'll share it with everyone. So Jenny Perry, and this is what she says. Every time I hear a man say, she's too wild, too hard to understand, too complicated, too hard to master, too emotional, too diplomatic, too crazy, I actually hear, I would have burned her ass on the Salem prize. She's too connected to the goddess. I can't tame her. I won't understand it. I can't keep her. She won't need me. She's too powerful and won't like the injured parts of my being. So what I want to say here is this is not just about men. When we attract this in a relationship, when we feel this about the men in our life or the people in our life, we also have this pattern playing out in ourselves. And so when I felt this way, right, when I felt too much, too emotional, too crazy, like I was going to be shamed, it was because there was these two aspects of me playing out this story. My masculine energy was afraid of my feminine energy, and my masculine energy was trying to tame my feminine energy, right? It was angry with my feminine. So I just want to set that up as we continue to go deeper into this writing. On the contrary, she will see the parts of you that scare you and love them despite everything. A liberated woman will love you without ever having to change. So when you are truly liberated, when your heart is free and liberated, you can love someone, whether it's your significant other, whether it's yourself, whether it's your clients, you can love them the way they are. And that truly is what allows them to become, Okay, so she will connect to you at a primal level, will need your body, and she will let herself be consumed by her own inner fire, her own passion. Her passion will make you surrender even though you will see the upset your whole world. You will see her upset your whole world. As a lover, she will not only make love to your body and your heart, but also your soul. So this is the thing. The more we free our own hearts, the more we free our own wild feminine energy, our own inner nature, it gets to this place where our own inner masculine naturally surrenders. It surrenders to the feminine, because she loves it so much. She loves even your masculine, your wounded masculine in you without needing it to change. Then it can actually change. It can be something different. Okay. You'll wonder how it was to live before you met her. She'll will you. And if you answer, it'll be worse. When you get away, you'll realize how much you feel dying by imagining life without her. But she taught you your own strength, how your vulnerability makes you brave. She made you understand that you can survive everything, even her loss, because she taught you to believe in yourself. One thing that I've been working with many of my clients is this connection between our mind and our heart. Our wounded masculine mind wants to know, wants to figure out, wants to see, and our heart knows something totally different. And so as this is happening in our own hearts, and our mind is learning to surrender to the knowing of our heart, what happens is then we can start to attract a different reflection outside of us. Our relationships can go to a deeper place. She'll require more of you, and you'll be glad she knew you had this in you forever. She'll love you violently and teach you the same ways. Likewise, she will feed you and reach you at the point that will make you uncomfortable. She will love the frightened little boy in you, the one you fear of existence. And by recognizing it, she will make you feel that your old man is dead, the one who lived in lie, the part of you that is not well enough to emerge to heal, and she will see through your facades. And so the facades are the false structures, right? It's the showing up, trying to be something, trying to do something to be loved. You know, we show up in our business in the way where we are doing the thing, trying to be seen, trying to be loved, trying to get approval, you know, from ourselves, from our clients, from our coaches, from our partners. If I make this next amount of money, maybe it's going to make me into the next thing, when truly that's not the thing, right? We're doing this, we're acting from this place because our inner wounded masculine little boys, we all have a feminine and masculine energy. The little frightened boy in us, right, is afraid. And that's why we're acting from, it's afraid of our own feminine, right? So that's why we're having to live by these structures and try to fit into these structures. And once again, you know, as we heal these places in us, our outside relationships can change. So the men in your life will start to grow themselves up, and your clients will start to grow themselves up. Okay, so she'll pass the button and get you home even more. She'll ask you questions, make you grow up and learn more than you thought. She'll change you and never be boring. She will excite you and craze you with her audacity that makes her completely herself and not just bits of herself. She'll have a lot of feelings and you won't know what to do, but not once you dare to think about leaving her because you're a stranger to tragedy. Her tears will frighten you and you will want to fix her problems, fix the world of her. She will reassure you that it is a way of expressing itself and that it's not a sign of weakness, that you can cry when you are angry, happy, sad, or for no reason at all. So the wounded masculine wants to fix, you know? We want to try to make the emotions better. And the truth is our emotions lead us to our heart and soul. They lead us more to us. The tears are like the elixir of the soul, a catalyst for letting go, a sign of energy change. It will be a wild ride, an adventure that will lead you to the edge of yourself. With this relationship, you will want to ensure your love forever. You will know you can't own a liberated woman. You can only love her. Love a wild woman. Let her curse you, get drunk, amaze you, seduce you, hypnotize you, enchant you, and let her free you. Yes, yes, yes. A journey home to your wild heart, your wild soul. This is what I desire for you. This is what I desire, these energy conversations, to bring you home towards, more towards yourself, more towards freeing yourself and healing yourself and being yourself and expressing yourself. This is what I desire the soul-inspired success community to be a place for coming home, for remembering, for being supported, for being witnessed, for being held, for remembering that sisterhood and community is the way to come home. So if you haven't already, I invite you, I desire it too. I invite you to join us in the Soul Inspired Success community and share with us what's moving through you as you listen to this conversation. I am so grateful for you for listening, and I'm looking forward to connecting with you more. Bye for now.